The building of the Transcontinental Railroad is a very informative and also very well balanced This Is America Charlie Brown episode. This is the 5th episode, and it's also quite special because we have Curtis Andersen voicing Schroeder, which makes me very excited. And Schroeder is in it only briefly. In fact, most of the characters are in it only briefly because Charlie Brown's actually giving a presentation, which I feel like was kind of a cop-out. We do see him interacting with the railroad a little bit, but the previous episodes have seen the characters of Peanuts being part of those historical events. For example, they were in the space station for the NASA one, they were communicating with the Wright brothers in that one, they were on the Mayflower, they even observed the birth of the Constitution from that location. But with this one, Charlie Brown's just giving a report, which is reasonable enough, but because I know it can be done better and more immersive, I just feel like it was a bit of a cop-out. But Charlie Brown's giving a presentation to his class about, well, the building of the Transcontinental Railroad, which I didn't really know anything about, to be perfectly honest, so I learned quite a lot. As always, I have to take things in this with a pinch of salt, but I found it to be very informative, and there's a lot of information about, well, there are a lot of statistics, put it that way, about the amount of material used, about how long it took, about how many workers they used. And there, presumably because it's from Charlie Brown's perspective, there are not really many opinions of the workers, and I assume that that information is documented. There must be some records of workers, you know, writing diaries or something. Although, having said that, manual labour and people who were literate at the time maybe didn't cross over. I don't know. I'm not 100%. I don't have the statistics for that. But generally speaking, those two didn't always cross over. So maybe not. I don't know. But if you do know of any kind of written records or recordings of any kind of how the workers felt in this situation, more so than what we get in this episode, that'd be really fascinating. And as I said, it is well balanced. Because, yes, it's a celebration. This is obviously a great thing. This is, you know, it connects people, it connects part of the country, it speeds up travel. But it also points out that there are negatives. Granted, it kind of waited to the end of the episode to do this, but for example, we see this photo of loads of people involved in the construction of this railroad. And Charlie Brown points out that despite the fact there were many, many, many Chinese workers, there was not one Chinese person in that photo. And it definitely feels like there was a lot of work and the right rewards were not given and the right credit wasn't given, which again is why I'd be very interested to hear first-hand experiences, first-hand accounts, because I feel like depending on who tells the story, it would be a different story, which of course is pretty much always the case with history anyway. Very well animated, very well edited. As I said, we do get Charlie Brown interacting with the railroad a little bit. Snoopy's doing it a little bit. Schroeder plays the piano within a scene that Charlie Brown's describing. I love the harmonica music. The music in this is beautiful. So, so gorgeous. Of course, we have Working on the Railroad and a couple of others as well that I just love. So the music really is brilliant and helped to keep the pace of the story going forward. It was, of course, very exciting for the most part because this is a really exciting thing. Railroad travel is something that I guess we take for granted now, but I can't even imagine what it must have felt like for a person to go on a train for the first time, and how much more convenient it would be to connect places and people. And it really helps to kind of show just how much work went into this. But again, it also showed that while it was a brilliant thing, there are negatives to this as well, which I think is really the first time. Well, actually, the Mayflower Voyagers kind of looked at the negative effect of, you know, Native Americans and how things were changed for them after the Voyagers arrived. So it's not the only one that's as balanced, but I feel like this is the first one where it's openly gone, this was a bad thing, or this is something bad that happened within the context of this history. And I guess because Charlie Brown was doing his report, it was easier for him to deliver that information rather than trying to show it. So I think, yeah, I feel like it was still a bit of a cop-out to tell the story that way, but it was still effective. Had this been the first episode and I didn't know that Charlie Brown and the rest of the gang would be much more heavily involved in the stories, I wouldn't have batted an eyelid. So I don't know, it's not too bad, I guess. But I enjoyed it. I found it to be very informative, generally well balanced, well animated, definitely educational for me, and something I'd be happy to watch again.